Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and pop culture collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Welcome to our show of Dream Chasers and Wealth Makers. We're thrilled to be back in the studio today with a new episode of the Zandbergen Report. I'm proud to bring in the movers, shakers, and difference makers who are passionate about showing what they have learned and what you need to know today. And today I'm very pleased to welcome in studio Janene Verabian, a clinical hypnotherapist and relationship expert. Janene, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. So, a clinical hypnotherapist, how does one become a clinical hypnotherapist, and what drives that?
Well, it was one of the things that I saw as a modality that was huge in healing. And I, in what I do, work with people who a lot of the time are trying to get past traumas, childhood traumas, relationship traumas. And I noticed that a lot of them were coming to me needing more than just trying to go back and recollect moments of their life. They were having trouble accessing. There was a kind of a push and pull, and then I came, aware of hypnotherapy and how it just goes deep. And it's able to access part of your consciousness, your subconscious, that brings memories forth that you normally may not remember, or more details about that event. And then you're able to kind of restructure and reframe your ideas about that set moment and move forward in your life. Mm-hmm. And I'm very goal-oriented in my practice. I really try to give my clients results. And there's no fast way of moving through painful events, but there are modalities that are there to give people opportunity to heal in a much more comprehensive way. And I noticed that being the case. And so I latched on, and I've been doing it now for quite a while. Quite a while, so.
It's
never the same. It's never, well over a decade now. But yes, it's been a minute, and it's very enjoyable. It's very gratifying.
Now, has this been an evolution? Did you start with a different modality, like as a therapist of some sort, or how did you get from wherever you were to where you are?
Yeah. So the two, I was always kind of in a wellness field. I'm also a certified holistic kinesiologist. So as you go through that, you see that a lot of people have emotional reasons for why they're not getting what they need out of their life. So when you notice that and you're able to go there and look at, like I love to say, take out the box, right? So you find someone who's going, everything in my life is working, but my relationship is horrible, or I'm not getting that job I want, or goals aren't being met. A lot of the times, the reason why they're not being met is because the person has some type of belief about themselves that they've accepted a very long time ago. And they're running with it. Whether they are consciously aware of it or not, they are running with it, and it's running them. And it's causing them not to get what they want.
Somewhat of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you believe, you convinced yourself that I'll never get that job, I'll never get that relationship, something like that. So your inner self believes it.
It's almost like you're self-sabotaging, but you aren't even aware that you're your own wisdom. That makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
So, we have a blame game, because that's easier, to blame your non-successes on other people, or the environment, or COVID, or your dog, or whoever, right? But when you're able to really go, where's my accountability in this? Where can I take responsibility and take control of my life without feeling like I'm this wallflower just kind of going through life and letting things happen to me? I do have some control in manifestation over what I want in this life. And hypnotherapy is very, very good for that as well, because it also allows you to visualize and manifest all the great things that you want in your life, but you can't do that until you undo what tape is running in your head. Yeah.
So it's an undo and then kind of a reprogram?
Very good. Yes,
okay.
Very much like that. Okay. I always say that it's kind of like it's a tape running in your head over and over, And you kind of know it. Everyone knows it. They go through their day and you go to do something and you're like, oh, you'll never do that. Or don't even try to do that. Or that guy will never like you. Or whatever those things are. You hear it, right? And you might give it a little second and then you kind of go on with your day. That runs you. Your beliefs run your actions run your results. So it's extremely important that people take what their end goal is and trace it back to your belief system. When they're aligned, you go forward so much faster. But if you're stuck in the past, then that needs attention.
Yeah. I think I read, are you primarily working with like relationship issues, or is it many different issues that are self-sabotaging?
Generally, people will come in because of a relationship problem. Either they want one and can't get one, they need to get out of one, it's toxic, or they're somewhere complacent. Their relationship's good, it's not great, they want to see it back where it was before. It's not always like you have to leave them, it's not always the sad, humdrum. It's people come in that want to make their marriage work and that see the value in working hard and sticking at it. And there's a lot of people, even with affairs, people get past things. So usually people will come in for relationship issues. And then when we work together and we start to kind of see, you uncover the rocks and you go, where did you first believe this about you? Or, well, this always happens to me, or every time I get into a relationship, this happens, A, B, and C. And then there's a couple things that telltale signs I'll look for. When I hear those things, it's like, let's visit that. Because I'm all about, let's not just solve the symptoms, let's get to the base reason of why you feel this way. And generally, it's a pretty big reason.
Yeah. Do you only work with adults? Do you work with children or teens? The reason I ask is it seems when you described to reprogram something that you've always done, well, the original programming starts when we were kids, and something common that I would hear kids say, I can't do this, I can't do this. And so is it too young to start programming for a child?
Not at all. I believe that children who can learn to meditate and self-hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, they're kind of two in the same. They are able to handle emotions at an earlier age and also handle negative thoughts that may be coming up for them and learning how to rewire them early on and say, this is what isn't real. I'm telling this to myself, and then unlearn it. I don't work with children just because my audience tends to be between probably 30 to 60. And that's just what organically kind of structured for me.
Okay.
But yes, I do give a lot of advice to parents that are dealing with, kids that are maybe going through some stressful times in times of COVID and home and can't see friends, or possibly going through a tough divorce.
Yeah. So let's talk about divorce first, I guess. So that's an area that you do a lot of work with, correct?
I do.
Okay. So what are some of the things that you see primarily there that you're able to help with?
Everything. And it doesn't mean like, yay me, everything. It's relationships cover everything. From the moment you step out in the morning and you go to work, you're dealing with the boss, you're dealing with people you work with, and you go home, you're dealing with your children. Relationships are everywhere. And so almost anything that you're dealing with in your present life, personally or otherwise, is going to run out into your relationships and cause problems. So if you're not balanced within yourself, you're going to have outward issues. So I'm a big believer in accountability. And some people don't like to look at that, right? It's easier to blame everyone else or say he was such a jerk. And even in toxic relationships, you do have to own a little bit of it. And even if that is just, I allowed it.
Yeah.
Again.
So in my unprofessional opinion on that situation, because I'm not, this is more like dealing with my kids and maybe some clients. But if I see something where someone talks about something that has repeated over and over again, and so my response as the mentor might be, if it happens multiple times, is it time to look in the mirror and see, not that I'm a bad person, but perhaps maybe I made a bad choice. Maybe I'm doing something that is causing this. Is that true?
Without a doubt. Yeah. And that happens obviously for men and women, to be able to kind of go, I'm the common denominator in this issue.
That's the common denominator.
And so when you are, saying, maybe I'm inviting this into my life. Now, there may be very many reasons why. One may be that the person grew up in a lot of drama, right? So even though they're no longer in a state of fight or flight, they're no longer in this place of just constant panic and confusion, if you will. They're now on their own. They're living they're trying to live this peaceful life, but they don't know how to do peaceful because that's not their comfortable. So you have to find out what their comfortable is, and sometimes that's chaos, that's drama.
So it's true. Some people either look for drama or flourish in drama or need drama.
I doubt. And they usually aren't aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it just follows them, or they attract it, or something. Because I've known people that their entire life is surrounded by drama.
Mm-hmm. And I believe a lot of the time the reason is because they're allowing it in their lives. Because they're getting a positive payoff, which sounds just crazy, right? But it's not. If that is what's normal to them, they'll take what should be a normal, everyday, slight downfall or bump in the road and make it catastrophic. It may be because they're still living in this PTSD thing, and they're kind of looping, and they haven't found their way out of it, how to step out of it. Or they just like drama, and they think that somehow validates them, to get attention-seeking people. Or we all have our flaws. We all have things about ourselves, and the whole name of the game is, as we're going through life, is to say, you know what, I really screwed up on that. Yeah. I'm not going to take that into the next relationship, or I'm not going to take that into the next day. Forget about the relationship. I'm not going to take that with me anymore. Yeah. I'm not going to carry it.
Okay. That must be one of the things that you uncover and then expose.
They don't like that session much. No, they don't like it.
So we were talking before we got on air, a word that I've heard a lot lately in the last couple of years, even though the word's been around for centuries, narcissistic or narcissism. That seems to be a much more widely used word. So what does that mean to you, and how does that affect the people that you meet in their relationships and so forth?
I think there's a lot of explaining what true narcissism is. And even though I don't diagnose, I'm not your girl for that, I refer out for that. There are a lot of people who sit on that couch and go, he's such a narcissist. And, we have to kind of take a beat, right? It's not because this person's posting a bunch of selfies after you broke up. It does not make someone a narcissist. It may make you a little vain. Yeah. But there's a lot of toxicity within the relationship, within the individual that's projecting onto other people in their lives when they're truly toxic. And so looking at that and not kind of clinging on to this catchphrase because we're seeing it on reality TV and we're seeing, it's a buzzword.
So you hit, I think, what the normal or traditional definition of narcissism is, right? Someone, big ego, pictures and selfies.
Grandiose ideas.
Yeah, the couple of people in the last couple of years that mentioned it to me, I knew know their ex, and they described things were nothing like that. They seemed much more humble. They were not selfie, type people, but yet this happened to be a female, said that he was absolutely a narcissist.
You got it.
So what clinically is the definition of a narcissist?
Basically what you said. So it's someone who takes situations that should be their responsibility and deflects it on other people. They're generally compulsive liars. They can cheat. They tend to stonewall their partners in relationships. They tend to gaslight their partners in relationships into making them feel like they've lost their mind or they're not remembering things. That's, I think, one of the most dangerous part of being in a relationship long term, especially for people, men or women. It's that's really what it's the name of the game is. Those are some of the clues you look for. Yeah. In narcissism is, the way they're treating others. Now, you had mentioned something about, it wasn't really that bad. So covert narcissists, sometimes are. You see them as priests, and you see them as counselors, and you see them in different fields. And yeah, they may not be taking all the selfies, but they may have this godlike, I'm above everyone, rules don't apply to me, those type of things. So it's not a one size fits all. No relationship ever that I've seen in my office goes down the same way. They don't have the same stories. So it's extremely broad in trying to make it, a little bit more adaptable to what we're talking about here. But everyone has a different story. And it really is when the person in the relationship with the narcissist feels like they're being controlled, they're not being given the truth, they're being diminished, their thoughts and ideas aren't valued in the relationship. Their spouse isn't empathetic, cannot show empathy, can't bond.
Okay. So that description really fits this person that I know of. So that's much different than the selfie narcissist.
And I think that's what people look for, right? I think they look for this charismatic, life at a party. They walk in and, it's kind of like everyone knows his name, that guy.
Yeah.
Not always that guy, and they're real good at putting on that mask and being something completely different behind closed doors.
Yeah. So I have experienced divorce in many different ways. One myself personally, which wasn't pleasant, and then through many of my clients who have gone through it, and I've because of that, I've studied and got another designation to help assist clients through that process, not legally but financially. So. What do you do, or what do you recommend to help people keep their emotions in check? Because that seems to be at least on the top 5 circumstances where emotions just get completely out of control.
It's funny, I just wrote on this. I'm writing an upcoming book, and I wrote this in one of my chapters yesterday. And what I basically said was, emotions are not emergencies. So know the difference. A lot of time you'll see that people come in and they're just a wreck because they've been through so much. They're just exhausted and they're worn out, and they just want peace in their life, So being able to have them understand, hey, listen, you need to be logical. It's really hard to be logical when they pull these stunts, or if they're using your kids as a piece by proxy to torture you. It's hard to keep a handle on all of that. So you need to really teach them by case basis. It's kind of keep it simple, stupid, breathe through it. Like, call a sane friend of yours. Say, is this really something that needs my attention, or am I, going overboard with my emotions? Reach out to a therapist, a coach that you trust. But you need to learn how to kind of deal. You need to learn to deal with the stunts they pull, because if you are truly in a narcissistic relationship you're leaving, or a really toxic divorce, it's really hard to see the forest for the trees. You're in it. So you need to be able to teach them skills, and which I do, of how to understand where to compartmentalize those emotions and how to let them move through in a healthy, productive way, and not just, drinking cases of wine and, emailing your ex horrible things, there's other ways.
Yeah. So there's obviously a financial side too, right? I work more on the financial side, and I typically see the non-financial spouse. Many times it has to be the woman, it just works out that way. And I have seen the emotional pain that they are going through with uncertainty, fear, anxiety when it comes to money and finance. What do you experience through that, and how do you coach your patients through that?
That's all so real for them. And, it's not just for the stay-at-home mom or the corporate woman. It hits everyone in a very different, very profound way. And it could be the woman that has their own business and they're rocking it. But as they went on in their relationship, they saw that the narcissist or the toxic woman in their family, either their spouse, slowly took control over those finances. And they look back and go, I don't really know what's going on in my financial world anymore. It's really important that they do. It's really important that they log and file, and that they kind of keep one eye on things, and they understand what's going on in their household, what's going in and what's coming out.
Yeah.
That's if you're in the marriage still. But once they leave the marriage, for a lot of women, it's the type of situation that they're scared. They're scared on, let's just say they have a nice settlement, okay, and they don't know how to trust, because that's been skewed in their last relationship. And one thing that the narcissist tends to do is try to have full financial control over the ex-spouse and try to financially ruin them, which I'm sure you see or hear
over and over.
Yes. So when they are met with that and they're dealing with any kind of, stuff that they haven't dealt with yet or in it, it's really hard for them to trust and go, let's go ahead and sit down with a financial advisor that I never met. So I think empowering women that you lost your voice maybe there for a minute, you can get it back. The fear is just, it sucks the joy from your life. And understanding that knowledge is power. Stand in your power and take some chances. And, all that you want is on the other side of fear. I hate to stop to just talk in bumper sticker, but it's true. It's true. A lot of women's fears will never happen, right? And so sometimes it's sitting them on the couch and saying, okay, how realistic is it that a tsunami will come and, all the banks will be closed and you can't get to your money? That's not really realistic, right? But, that they're going through a horrible divorce and maybe they're going to be losing some money and they're worried about their counsel or they're done with the divorce and now they have to trust someone to handle it and invest it properly. Yeah. And also, too, don't forget one of the big ones for women and men is how they see money, how their relationship is with money. What they consciously think their relationship is with money may be very, very different. And it may be because a lot of people don't like money, and we've gone into sessions and what their real relationship is. When you ask them those hard-hitting questions, they're like, oh my God, I realized. My dad always used to say, money's the root of all evil. And what do? I give it away every chance I get, or I spend and spend and spend. And it's because on a subconscious level, I don't believe I'm worthy of it. I don't believe I can make it and hold on to it. I don't believe I can grow my wealth. That's where hypnosis and talking through those fears is so, beneficial.
One more thing, and I want to get a little more into the hypnosis process. Sure. But you hit a point. I've had some clients, both male or female, that have the settlement, and in some cases there were millions of dollars. And you hit a point earlier. There was still this sense of scarcity. It's not enough. Is it going to? No, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to survive. Well, they were. Clearly they were. But it was very difficult to show them that they really didn't have anything to worry about. And so it's that what I think goes back to what you talked about, that pre-programming, the relationship with money, whatever that was, just continues itself.
They do, yeah, because, when a woman or man has been through something traumatic, they live in this, the other shoe's gonna fall. It's gonna be a catastrophe, and I'm sure you've sat down with women going, you have 14 homes and, and a yacht and Capri. What's the problem, right? Yeah. Unless you just go and throw it all on red, you're probably going to be fine. But that's logical. But taking them back and going, why do you feel this sense of fear? And mostly, I see it a lot in my practice. It's because these women have been controlled and programmed that they'll never be okay without them, and that they'll never be able to stand on their own 2 feet. And this is supposed to be your soft place to fall. Your spouse is supposed to be a rock. And when the person is telling you those things, it's easier to believe sometimes. And so it takes some work to get them to understand that their fears sometimes aren't always realistic, and if they are, there are things you can put in place to protect yourself.
Yeah. That's great.
Such as you.
Let's add another layer of complexity to this whole process, COVID.
Yeah.
So, so many negative things that happened just because of, I think, of the pandemic, one, the disease, and two, I think the circumstances of how we're reacting and what we're doing. But, stay-at-home orders, and then there's bad relationships. Are you seeing the side effects of that?
Every day. I generally will get some type of email, or it's hard. There's no place to hide, right? We're just in each other's faces all the time.
Yeah.
So you better like each other.
That's tough on a good relationship.
Yes. And if you don't like each other, you're going to find out real fast, because they're going to let you know. When you're like, go get peanut butter out of they're not going to like the way you did that. You're going to get. So some of it's funny, and I joke with my husband all the time. Like, he's going to bed at 5 o'clock. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. What happened? But you're in the house all the time, and you're cohabitating, and it's only so much you do.
Yeah.
So people, for some, have had relationship problems for a very long time. As being in a past relationship, they don't show up for help sometimes until it's way too late.
Yeah.
And so, I think what happened with COVID is it forced us to look at ourselves and reassess our relationships. And then also, too, our children are seeing this dynamic. And I think for a lot of parents, they're going, I don't want my children to see this. I don't want them to see the contempt and the arguing and the silent treatments and this toxicity. And I think that's also a reason why a lot of people are kind of calling it quits, or going for help, or looking for retreats, or looking to improve their relationships. If they're in good relationships, they want to make them great.
Yeah. Walk us through the best you can the process. So someone wants to work with you, and what does hypnotherapy look like? You mentioned couch. That was like a giveaway. Like, oh, the couch. The couch.
Okay, so
you snap your fingers. Is it one of those hypnotherapies?
No, but it's a great crowd pleaser. Because as soon as I come in with that, like if I'm out with my husband, they're like, "What? Can you make me bark? Can you make me? Oh, can me? Yeah. My wife hates that as soon as I say that, just like it glaze right over.
Yeah.
No, I cannot make you do anything you don't want to do. Hypnosis is for really, truly people who are done being miserable. They're done with whatever their issue is. And that's when I see them, because if they're like, I don't know if I want to break up and make up, and I don't know how to do that, you're not ready. But if you wake up one day and go, you know what, I really think the reason why I'm not getting this or that is because this is holding me back, or a memory resurfaces, or a relationship challenge or something, in your current life comes up and then goes, that's tied to that. Then they call and they come in, and the first session kind of looks like, tell me a little bit about yourself, tell me what the issues are. I want to make sure I'm the right fit for them. Because sometimes they come in and they're in the middle of a really, really bad custody hearing. They're in the family law thing, and they need a tough hitting attorney, and they need, they need people to protect them. Okay? So that's a different story. But my client is typically coming to me because they have everything they need. They're kind of like, you know what? I'm good. I feel, for the most part, very stable in my life. I'm really unhappy with this or that. And so then we work through that, and I introduce them to what hypnosis is. And for the yogis in the world and the meditators, they're just, I just have to go, all right, we can start, and then they're in. It's just so easy. It's like fishing in a barrel. But there's others that are scared. And they don't want to let go, because they're like, are you going to put me under? I'm like, no, we don't put anyone under. You're not going to surgery. This is something that's going to allow you to access feelings, emotions, memories, sensory things that could help you piece together what's going wrong in your present life.
So you do lay them down. They lay down.
They do.
And then you relax them into a point where do they fall asleep, or they
they have. So you don't want that. That's not your goal. Yeah, you don't want your own snores. But what can happen is generally I'll induce the hypnosis, and there's a lot of different ways that I do that. I do that really, I kind of talk to the client and see what their, are they visual, are they auditory, and then I use that to help induce the hypnosis. And, usually the first couple times is light hypnosis, just getting used to it, because the more you train your body, the faster and deeper you go in. And then when they get comfortable, we can kind of go to the tougher subjects, but they're always guiding it. So it's not like, hey, I got you on the couch and you wait, you hear what you're talking about today. It's not like that. It's about, so what do you see now? They do it. I just guide them. And if they're off course, and I know this is their goal to talk about this, that's my job, is able, getting them able to kind of get to their answers, their aha moments, their healing. And that's a big session. That's usually about a 2-hour, 2.5-hour session. And they put in the work, and they usually leave with a much different frame of mind if they're ready to go.
I'm sure I understood this. You said something. Does your client need to already know what that historic past thing is that's causing it, or can they come in just with an open mind, knowing that, I really want this relationship to work? I think there's something in my mindset, without being able to pinpoint what it is before they see it.
3 things came to mind. Sometimes they know exactly. Sometimes they have no clue. And sometimes they come in and say, this is going to sound silly, but they'll kind of come in saying something like, I don't know. I think, when I was younger, like my dad and mom used to argue a lot, and then when I was like 4, I was sexually abused, because everything's like,
What?
but like they don't even realize that this was traumatic, and they're like, well, it wasn't, to that extreme or that extreme, and they justify it. The mind's a beautiful thing, but it protects people. So sometimes, as when we're sitting in front of them, we can go, you don't see what I see? Okay, then you kind of have to guide them. And sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they are on the right path, but it's not my journey. And so I think when you take your ego out of it and you provide them their healing and you provide them their space to find what they need out of it, they always get there. If you kind of just are there to frame it.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
It's work.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's something else.
We're running out of time.
Wow, that flew by.
I'll tell you,
oh, great.
It goes by fast.
Yes.
But I'm going to keep my tradition, and that is I have the honor at the end of the show of asking my guests their final thought question. All right, so Janene, please share with us your ultimate lesson learned during your career as a wellness / hypnotherapist.
Oh, it's got to be fear. Do something that scares you every day. I'm a big believer of that. And I think when, especially women, I'm not going to get feminist on you, but a lot of women, I think, where there's a movement right now, and, they're stepping into, this, even women who are strong or women who have always been very timid are going, all right, I can take chances. I can take up space. I can, let my voice be heard. I can not walk in fear all the time. I cannot live defeated. It's just getting rid of that fear, because like I said earlier, most of the time it isn't even really relevant. It is never going to happen. So I think when the work I do, and also for me, when I'm afraid of something, I try to tackle it, because then you come away going, I can do that, and I can do so much more. And that's the big one for me.
That's great. How can people find you, reach you?
You can find me on my handle, AskJV. That's Janene Verabian, I'm sorry. I say AskJV all the time with my other things. And JaneneVerabian.com.
Okay.
That's generally how they find me. I'm on Facebook under Janene Verabian. Yeah.
And you were also, I forgot to mention, you are considered a distinct woman, according to Riviera magazine.
Like cover and flow.
Dynamic, what did I say dynamic?
Dynamic women, from Riviera magazine.
Well, congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be chosen. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Well, Janene, thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was great. I enjoyed it very much.
Terrific. I want to thank for everyone who was tuned in, and we look forward to being again in the studio next week. Cheers.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting podcast.bartzandbergen.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. The contents of this podcast episode do not constitute an offer of securities or a solicitation of an offer to buy securities and may not be relied upon in making an investment decision related to any investment offering Access Wealth Management LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Access does not warrant the accuracy or completeness of the information contained herein. Opinions are our current opinions and are subject to change without notice. Prices, quotes, rates are subject to change without notice. Generally, investments are not FDIC insured, not bank guaranteed, and may lose value. Brokerage services are offered through Tessera Capital, member FINRA.